Previously, we arrived in Florence and immediately went on a hunt for the best gelato in town, and I think we found it. Then we went around tasting different local snacks and explored a couple of famous sites. Today's gonna be a full day of museum. We are getting cultured. We're going to be learning some things today. I'm craving matcha latte, so let's just get that before we start the day.
Got a little almond croissant. Oh my gosh, it's huge. I wonder how long it took to actually build this. Let's do it!
He has a big butt.
Actually, his head is also really big, right? Like, compared to his entire body.
His head is a little big, yeah.
Right?
It's kind of odd.
And his legs are super big too. Like, his head and legs are super big.
Yeah.
Okay, I really can't believe that all this is carved out of a single block of marble. The marble block used for David was actually originally used by another sculptor, and that sculptor deemed it flawed and abandoned it. Then Michelangelo came along and believed that the figure was already existed within the flawed block of marble and took it upon himself to chip away the excess material, and bam, he brought David out of the block. This is the room next to the David sculpture. If you look closely, you'll see tons of dots on their faces and bodies, and they look like they have chickenpox or something. But these are used as reference points for sculptors to measure and replicate the final product from a cast.
Oh. And no espresso.
Just a short walk from David, there's a Leonardo da Vinci interactive museum where you can try out some of his inventions. Basically, his inventions coming to life. And it has like war machines, flying machines, water pumps, and even anatomy models. I guess it's safe to say that he was interested in a lot of things. I really wonder how he came up with all these things back in the days. Where does he get all these ideas from?
Oh, you're scooping water?
It's going here.
No way!
He had exceptional knowledge in so many subjects. One of his main skills is painting. He's well known for his innovative use of light and shadow, as well as an insane attention to detail. You can see that with his famous paintings such as the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper.
I wonder whether he actually tried to cycle and fly on this thing.
Now we're gonna go get some gelato, then head to the Uffizi museum. We're definitely getting cultured today. This place is a treasure trove of art. It has one of the most important collections of the Renaissance art in the world. The gallery houses masterpieces from Giotto, Botticelli, Michelangelo, Caravaggio, and other famous artists. People come here for the famous paintings, but they also have a collection of ancient sculptures and drawings worth exploring. This was actually the private collection of the Medici family, who were the most powerful and influential Italian dynasty during the 14th century. They were into banking and international trade, which then led them to gain political influence. They were very into art and helped fuel the Italian Renaissance. by supporting artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Botticelli. This gallery also shows the evolution of art. It starts out from the Middle Ages, then progresses to the modern period. You can basically see the transition from the Byzantine styles to the realism and humanism of the Renaissance, all the way to the experimentations of later periods. So it's like a really interesting place to actually look at the evolution of art.
What is that?
This is the Medici family I was talking about before, who has the strong political power in Florence. This is actually one of the famous paintings in Uffizi gallery. It's the Medusa painting by Caravaggio, who is basically a master of the Baroque style. His painting usually uses dramatic lighting techniques to create a stark contrast between light and shadow. The genius is in the technique. You can see the texture of the snake skin, Medusa's glistening eyes, and the splatter of blood. We're going to look for a Buchette del vino, a wine window. During the plague, they used the wine windows for people to buy wine with minimal contact. It actually became useful again during the recent COVID pandemic. Some people said the wine windows had a tax advantage since it was a way to operate under the radar and wouldn't be considered a full-fledged shop. They're usually quite small with rectangular openings with an arched top, basically large enough to fit a glass bottle. You can find these scattered throughout the historic part of Florence, mostly in the older neighborhoods. Not too far from our hotel, there's the Palazzo Pitti. In the back, there's a garden called the Boboli garden. What a cute name. No surprise here, it was laid out by Cosimo of the Medici family. I believe it was the same person who planned for the Uffizi gallery to be built. By the way, this garden is huge. We walked and walked and walked and walked and saw a good, I think 70% of it max. It's divided into a series of compartments. They have the coffee house, the lemon house, the grotto of Buontalenti, and a bunch of other places. This is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, showcasing the amount of wealth and power the Medici family had. That's the Neptune fountain. He's riding a seahorse and is surrounded by nymphs and sea creatures. And there's also a little crane there. How cute!
Light is so magical.
Corner was
Cute. Yeah. Oh my god, this bread looks amazing. It's like sourdough? Happy birthday! Enjoy your meal. It's kind of like soup. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
That's all for this episode. Hit the like and subscribe button to continue exploring Florence. Next, we'll be checking out the first ever Gucci store. I believe it was in the House of Gucci movie as well, and we're gonna try some food at the food market. Thanks for hanging with us. Take care of yourself. Bye.